more just kind of a fun one, I think. But someone says they're looking for tips on starting a career in SEO. And they say, I'm super interested in getting into the world of SEO. I've heard it's a great field with lots of opportunities, but the whole process seems a bit overwhelming. What are the skills that I should focus on? But also, they wonder, how did you land your first job in SEO?
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Steve. Before we jump into the answer, don't forget to hit that like button. If you're on YouTube, subscribe and click the bell to get notified about my latest videos. Your likes help me grow my channel and reach more people. Now let's get to the answer. Okay, great question. If you're watching in the All Stars program, in our membership program, we have a whole thing on becoming an SEO professional, how to get started. Okay, we talk about different things that you can do and so on. Let's talk a little bit about that, right? Because let's say that you have learned some SEO, right? As far as where do you want to focus, there's a lot of things in SEO, digital marketing, right? There's on-page SEO, there's off-page SEO, like link building and whatnot. There's local SEO for the Google Business Profiles, Bing, and so on. There's paid advertising, search engine marketing, you might call it, where you're advertising on Google and you're advertising on Facebook and Instagram, whatever, LinkedIn and whatnot. Or you can become a general practitioner in essence and do a little bit of all of it, right? So first thing I would say is, well, pick a focus. What kind of excites you? What interests you the most? If you don't know, and again, there are whole companies that just focus on link building, that just focus on email marketing, that just focus on, technical SEO, or just focus on site optimization SEO. It all kind of depends. How I got my first job, how I was taught, and kind of it came because like it seemed so, well, okay, how am I going to get someone to pay me to do SEO if I've never done it before and have no way to, to prove that I know what I'm doing, right? And basically, the best way to start is to look within your inner circle, right? I guarantee you, if you talk to 5 or 10 people, either in your family, in your circle, if you hang out at a local brewery like I do on Thursday night, later tonight, if you talk to some people there, I guarantee you, someone's trying to start a business, someone's got a small website somewhere, somebody needs help, startup where you can maybe give it a shot. And work with them. Say, hey, you don't have to pay me up front, pay me after the fact. Maybe pay me by the number of phone calls that you get. Every time you get a call, do this. Every time you get a form fill, pay me this. There's lots of ways to kind of work that system out. Another thing to do is to just have your own guinea pig site. And this was something that I did right away, was when I first got into the business, I started up my own website, started up my own thing, and said, okay, let me get this ranked. Let me practice with this. When I started my New York Jets fan club 20 years ago, set up a website, jets-fan.com. Still running. The site sucks, hasn't been touched in ages, but it still ranks, believe it or not. So I had a site that I can mess around with without having to worry about a client, a boss breathing down my neck or expecting results. Just like, let me play with something. Let me try things. Let me experiment with. Always a good idea to have that. So look at your family members, look at your friends, look at acquaintances. Ask them if they have a business idea, or if they've started a business recently, or if they're thinking about starting a business, and see if you can help them some ways. Start to get some exposure. Start doing some of this stuff. You can certainly, there are lots of there's free courses out there that you can go for. Again, whenever you look for this kind of stuff, be sure you look at when stuff was created. You don't want to be looking at things 2-3 years old at this point, like on YouTube, because it could be completely outdated, completely wrong at this point. You want to have fresh content, regular, like newer stuff, which is what we try to do with our All-Star program, is keep it fresh, keep it new, keep it updated wherever we can. And so keep that in mind. Then about having good business practices. You have to be tracking things. You're going to need some tools, right? Like any job, you need a tool. I make a joke where, if you're a fireman, you need your hat, your helmet, your axe and whatnot. If you're a cop, you need your belt and your cuffs and your gun and your taser. And like if you're Batman, you need your batarang and your shark repellent and all your bat stuff, right? You need utility belt. So you need some tools, contractor to build houses needs a hammer and a screwdriver and saws and nail and whatnot. And so you need some tools as well. So within the agency program, we do talk about those tools, what tools that you can have in your tool belt. So I would say get a tool like an SEMrush or an Ahref or some other kind of all-in-one tool that you can begin to learn, you can begin to work with. You can begin to understand how to use it. You can get some of their training that they tend to have as well. You can apply it to maybe a competitor site, kind of see where they're at, run an audit, run a keyword research kind of tool and see what goes on. But it's important to kind of get those tools. So another thing that we used to do early on, much, much harder nowadays than it was, let's say 20 years ago, we used to use the keyword tools to find niches that were not very competitive, right? Actually find a niche where there was not a whole lot of people competing for it. And you could see competitiveness of a thing. And many of the keyword tools out there will offer like competitiveness. Something close to 100 is going to be like mostly impossible. Like digital cameras, I always use that one. Like, you start a digital camera business or a website for digital cameras, yeah, just forget it. You're never going to get found for digital camera. You're not, because you're going to be competing against Amazon and Best Buy and all these big box retailers. In fact, most of the manufacturers of cameras do not show up at the top 10 of Google when you type in digital cameras. It's everybody else that sells them, not the actual manufacturers. So again, be understanding of what you're going after, what your niche is. But we used to be able to go look at keywords and find places where there was competitiveness or lack thereof, and try to create content for it. Try to create websites for it. Try to go after somebody in that industry in your area and say, hey, let's do this. Another thing you could do, we used to do back in the day as well, was put a keyword phrase in, maybe in your local market. Maybe you're in Tampa like I am, and you put in Tampa plumber, something like that. Plumbers in Tampa, plumbers near me, and go to page like 10. See who's on page 10, or go into the local listing, see who's like in the 20th spot in the local listing for that, and see and take a look, evaluate their site, evaluate what they've got. Is there something that you can do that you can clearly see after learning something and getting some education on it, that you can make a difference, you can make an impact on them. But again, it really is going to come down to learning from the right people, getting good advice from the right people, and being careful not to take advice from the wrong, because that can be a big problem. Making sure the information that you get is somewhat current within the last year or so is usually a good kind of placemat for that. Again, it can be different because things change hell daily when it comes to Google these days. Keep an eye out, do a Google search for Google algorithm changes. There's a couple of different tools out there, like from Moz and a few others, where they talk about what's changed in Google and their algorithm over the course of time. So you can keep an eye on those things to keep track of what's different now than, let's say, last month or last year. But you have to be, and then of course, sign up for the newsletters on things like Search Engine Land and Moz and Search Engine Watch, and of course our own newsletter. We try to put out some tips as well. Keep coming to these, these sessions, these Q&A sessions, or visit us on YouTube and look for things that we talk about there. Try to keep those updated as well. And it's going to take time. All right, it's going to take time. When I started out back in the day, you were actually able to see in Google Analytics what keywords people typed in to come to your website. Okay, like, I mean, the actual number of keywords that were typed in that brought people to your website. And I used to run the reports and charge them based on their ranking. So here's the bunch of keywords that they wanted to get found for. If those keywords were actually getting found in analytics and they were ranked number 1, 2, or 3, for example, they'd pay me X amount of dollars for every number 1 rank. They pay me half of that for 2 through 5. They pay me half of that for 6 through 10, and that kind of thing. And I would get paid monthly based on performance. That ain't going to happen anymore. You're never going to find anybody to do that anymore, because it's too impossible to really do that these days accurately and efficiently. But, maybe it's traffic, maybe it's form fills, maybe it's conversions, maybe it's a sale, get a piece of it. So find ways to work with whoever it is you're working with to get paid for what you're doing. And of course, you're learning in the process. And then again, another great idea is set something up for yourself. Build something for yourself that doesn't rely on a boss or somebody else or a client to pay you or to be up your butt about something, and work on it yourself. Do what you can do to start getting yourself ranked for something that you're doing. And maybe that's you're going to get into SEO, and you want to try to find a niche within your city, within your town, maybe, and see if you can begin to get on the map for what you're doing, or some interest you might have. You know, like I said, my Jets fan club, that was just a hobby that I was doing, and I set up a website. And, you know, now we've got thousands of people in the you know in our group, and hundreds of people come out to watch the games with us. And you know, I mean, so and that was just because I had a site to play with, so I had a site to mess around with. So I think that's a good baseline on how to get started. Understand that it's gonna take time to learn, like anything. You know, you don't become an expert electrician overnight. You know, you have to have either a good mentor or somebody or a good class like our All Stars, which has got, I mean, 25 years of my experience available for you to review and look at in almost every topic area that's out there. And we have one on becoming a professional SEO. We have one on the tools that you need to think about and what you should be going after. You know, we cover these kind of things in a lot of detail. But those would be some of the things I would say to get started. That would be what I think you could do.